Okay, good morning, everybody. It's Tuesday morning again, and I have my coffee, and it's nice and warm still. And we're here for Coffee Talk Tuesday at Westminster Village. We're glad that you all joined us. A couple of people chatting in questions already. So remember, we started a new series of guests for our Coffee Talk, and this is being the fourth Tuesday of the month. The title is Around the Haute, and this is our first time we're doing the fourth Tuesday. And, you know, when I was thinking about who are we going to invite to be a guest, you know, Mark Gibson came to mind, because when we're talking about Around the Haute, I think Mark knows more than probably all of us put together about the Wabash Valley area and all that it has to offer because of all the work that he does. So we have Mark Gibson on with us from Envisionary Media. Mark Gibson also started the Haute.org, which we're gonna, you know, challenge you to go take a peek at whenever you're finished with our Coffee Talk today. And of course, Rebecca Shake is with us too. So if you have questions at any point during the presentation, type them in there or raise your hand and chat with us so that we can get your questions answered. But good morning, Mark.
Good morning.
How are you doing today?
Doing great, thank you.
Good.
You had me at coffee, so.
Are you a coffee drinker?
Yes.
I usually I have to, when people ask me that too, my story is that, you know, I never drank coffee until I started working in senior living. I felt like I had to do it to fit in, so. But we're so happy to have you here, because it just kind of blows my mind, all the things that you do. And I want our guests to understand and see, you know, how well the Wabash Valley and Terre Haute is represented with your work and your talent and, you know, your efforts, because I think it really gives them something else to be kind of proud of. So I want it, you know, certainly wanted to make sure that our viewers are educated about what you do, just in case they weren't familiar. But I guess first, if you would, Mark, tell me about Envisionary Media, your company, and then maybe how you kind of transitioned and got started with the Haute.org.
Okay. I'll try to summarize it as best as possible. So Envisionary Media is just a visual media production company. We do a lot of video production, photography, graphic design, web design, corporate commercial work primarily. We work with a whole slew of clients, including Westminster, and I love working with Kate and the team there, getting in there when we can. One of the projects that we produced in the past was the Story of Terre Haute, and that was kind of a personal passion project for me. That's really my entryway into just kind of civic engagement, because I grew up in Terre Haute as a kid and moved away, and then moved back to go to college in the United States. And just to kind of get reacquainted with the town, I would ride through the streets, ride my bike, just cycle around and try to remember street names and just explore. And saw these great little hubs of what at one time you could see was a thriving mini community within the city. And it just kind of sparked my interest of what was Terre Haute at one time. And so that led into the Story of Terre Haute documentary that kind of documents the history of the city itself. And so that was really a fun project, a big project, but it was fun. Had some great people that helped out with that. And then that kind of led into what can Terre Haute do today to kind of improve its lot. There were a few lessons that I kind of learned about the city and its kind of rise and then later decline, and to where we are today, just a typical Midwestern city. And there were also aspects from living here that I saw that weren't being well promoted. And I thought we could just do a better job at communicating or showcasing the assets that we have here. And so that's how we started off with the Haute, started the website. That was the first thing. We had a video series and of course, social media. And so the best way to summarize the Haute is that it's an online platform that represents our community, Terre Haute and Vigo County. That's what we focus on. So we just try to showcase the great aspects that we have here, shine a light on them. A lot of times, you know, people that live here aren't even aware of some of these things. So that's how that got started. And our audience, I'll go ahead and share this real quick. Our audience, we have a threefold audience. One is outsiders, people that don't live here, that may be looking for a place to relocate or to start a business, to start an industry. We want to show it as a vibrant, happening, living community that is, stable, a place that they can invest and do well with their investment. We want to showcase that. The other audience that we want to kind of address are the thousands of college students that we have here. We hear a lot about brain drain and how we educate them here and then they go off elsewhere because they don't find Terre Haute as a viable place for them to kind of set down roots. And for a young person, that's really important, a good starting point. Well, we want to at least showcase it as a place that they can come back to as a good memory for them of their college years here. We want to kind of integrate them into the community, get them off the campus if possible, and kind of invest and see what there is here beyond just the boundaries of Cherry Street and 7th. And then lastly, and really most importantly, it's the people that live here, the residents. To really make any sort of an impact on our community, the people that live here have to have a vested interest in it and have a civic pride in where they live and just seeing what there is around us. And so we just want to kind of help make them aware of what there is, what's going on, what's happening, and hopefully get them engaged with the community. So that's it in a nutshell.
When did you begin the Haute?
So it was right after we finished the documentary. There was a few month period, I guess. And I got to thinking all of the ideas that kind of came from producing that documentary of Terre Haute's rise, what sparked it, what kind of caused maybe the decline, what can we do now to address that, and what can we do to kind of improve our life. And so the documentary came out in December of 2016. It was the spring of 2017 that we started preparing and building up and developing the Haute website particularly. And then we launched in January of 2018. So only a couple years old now. And we've been going ever since.
Yes. And so the documentary that you mentioned too, I'm sure that many of the people watching today have seen it. WTIU picked that up, right? And aired it on their station. You've also had, I don't know if they did or you did, but there are DVDs created as well that that are available for purchase. Have you done other documentaries for them? Have they reached out to you for other things?
Sure. The most recent documentary that we produced for them was on Indiana Round Barns. It doesn't sound too interesting. It wasn't, it was intriguing just when they commissioned that. And so that's our most recent documentary. It just premiered the end of August, so about 3 weeks ago. And it's called Rural Revolution, Indiana's Round Barns.
How long did that one in particular take you to put together and produce? Just curiosity, how much time goes into that?
So that was 1.5 years from the time that they commissioned that to the time it was broadcast. Now, it didn't take the full time, but I would say a good, at least a solid 6 months would have been good for that. During that time, that process, it was a lot of fun because I was able to, of course, traverse the state, travel a lot across it, see a lot of the countryside, and I was able to take my kids, usually one at a time, on a trip. And so I had some one-on-one time with them. It's a lot of fun. We'd go camping or something like that and then film barns, and they would help carry tripods or camera gear and that sort of thing. And just met a lot of great people through that process.
Yes. Oh, how neat. How many barns total do you think you covered? Didn't really this question.
Okay. So we hit about 50. The interesting thing about Indiana Round Barns is that at one time there were about 220, and they were never very common. There was just a real narrow window that they were built of about 30 years in the early part of the 20th century. And then they just stopped being built. And so there's just a rapid decline of wooden barns in general, but of round barns specifically, just because of their rarity. And so there's only about 70, there's less than 70 left in the state now, and I got to probably about 50 of those.
Yeah. So if somebody wanted to see that one, before I move you on back to the Haute, how do they get how would somebody get to view that at this point?
Sure. So WTIU still has it on their Facebook page. I think they were going to carry it for about 30 days. If you go to WTIU, I think it's Indiana Public Television on Facebook, you'll see may have to search for it, but you'll find Indiana Realm Farms. It's Rural Revolution. And so you can still find it there. And then they also offer DVDs. And of course, I think they still broadcast it every so often now. So you can look for that in local listings. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Very cool. Now I know we want folks to understand a little bit more like the scope and the coverage you have of the Wabash Valley on the Haute, both on your social media page and your website. And you wanted to share, I think, your a little look at that with everybody on the screen today. Do you want to go ahead and do that, and then we can kind of walk them through what you got?
Sure. Let me pull that up real quick. Make sure I can do my screen share. I might have to share everything on my screen for a second here. So probably the first approach that somebody would have, first contact that somebody would have would be with our social media accounts. So Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. Those are our platforms on social media. We have probably about 10,000 followers right now. And so this is how most people come into contact with us. So on these platforms, we have original posts, we share positive news that we've come across and kind of help to disseminate that information, spread it far and wide. We also have some regular features on these sites. One would be the week ahead, kind of the schedule of what's happening for the week. Just kind of cherry pick a highlight from each night of the week. And then there's a weekend outlook. And that shows, what's happening over the weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Just different events in the community that are public events that people can go to and see what's going on. And then there's also, I should say, we have a Free Friday giveaway, which is a way to kind of spotlight a local business. They can, they offer something for free to some winner. We'll usually randomly pick one, just a blind draw of who wins this prize. And so just a fun way to kind of get the word out about a particular business and what they have to offer.
How do you curate all the content for this? To me, that part of it seems overwhelming and kind of stressful to get stuff on there.
Well, I don't personally do it. I mean, I jump in every so often. We have an employee that I have kind of tasked with that. In his spare time, he will do some of that. He's getting less and less spare time right now is a challenge. But yeah, so he is that's his thing. Like I said, I will jump in there, but he does most of that, does the research. He works on the events calendar, community events calendar for us. And so that's how he becomes aware of those sorts of things. While we're here, let me go ahead and share this. Okay, so this is our Facebook page. Social media is our first outlook. Our second would be our video series. We've produced, I think, there we go, 18 videos to date on just different aspects that we kind of have highlighted so far. And let me see what we have here in total. So things like, there's Mother Theodora Guerin's legacy of St. Mary of the Woods and Sisters of Providence. We've got the Terre Haute Children's Museum was a fun one. Candles Holocaust Museum, that was a sobering one. We were able to talk with Eva just months before she passed away. Miracle on 7th Street downtown was fun. The trail system, just kind of a overview of what trails we have here. Holman Mini Speedways is fun. These are just all fun projects, fun videos of showing kind of what we have to offer here. Terre Haute Symphony Orchestra, and Swope, there we go, Swope Art Museum. I know you mentioned the Swope earlier. So the video series is one aspect of that. And then finally, let me see if I can switch out here. Finally, we have the website. And this is kind of our biggest piece of that puzzle so far. And this is a lot of community information on here. Things to do is our big page showing different things that people can do in the community if they move here or if they just live here and want to know what's going on for the weekend. Local restaurants, nightlife, downtown, and so on. So that's a website.
It's a beautiful website. I just think it just looks, and it's really user friendly. I think our residents and prospective residents would just be amazed to see this collection of videos that you've put together as well. It looks like they're all around 5 to 10 minutes or so. Um, so simple, like quick views. This one about Ski Terre Haute intrigues me. I didn't know you could ski here in Terre Haute.
That's a funny, kind of a campy story. And that's what I love about these videos is that each one kind of has its own personality in a way because we're talking about something different. Of course, Eva's her story at Candles was a pretty somber one, but it also, just a challenge of the human spirit. We've got, the Swope is just kind of an artistic tour of the Swope. But Ski Terre Haute was just a fun, campy little piece from Rose Holman's history.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so you mentioned there is someone else on your team that kind of finds the content to post up here. How big is your team? What does that look like?
So we have 3 employees plus myself, my wife, she does the books for the business. And then a couple of guys work primarily with video. Isaac, I don't know if you've worked with Luke yet. Travis is the one that kind of handles web design and does a lot of work with the Haute. So he handles most of our social media aspects.
What are some of the current projects that you're working on? Mark, do you have anything kind of like big that's in the works?
Well, are you talking about with the Haute or the Visionary?
Either one.
Okay. Well, in Visionaries work, that's our primary work. The Haute stuff is fun. It's mostly volunteer, but in Visionaries really taking off right now. We're doing a lot of work with Indiana State, Rose Holman, Ivy Tech. I'm trying to think of any fun jobs. One client has got us into the Dallara factory that they produce and manufacture Indy race cars over in Indianapolis. That's a
wow.
Before too long. They're all fun. They're all unique. They're all different. So that's what I love about it is just the variety, being able to connect with different people and different things and learn about this. Then moving on to the next project, we're learning about something else.
Yes. Yeah. And I can see how that kind of work in videography and would lead to a site like the Haute, because you have all this knowledge now about different facets of the community that you want to share with more people. And it seems it's obviously a natural progression as I think about it now and kind of look back. But so you all may not, the folks watching may not be aware, and I didn't introduce this at first, but you said you worked with Westminster Village, of course, in Visionary. So the media part of Mark's company created the commercials that Westminster Village shows, as well as the still photography too. You all did that for us. We needed fresh photography to use for our advertising and marketing purposes, and we captured some great images that we've been using like crazy, on print pieces and on the website and everything. We also recently learned that we could use the short versions of our commercials on our social media posts, or on the paid posts that we do. I mean, clearly I could post them on myself, but so our one of our advertising agencies kind of worked those into to our paid advertising on Facebook and social media too. So it's really it's overwhelming, all the things that you can do, and you would think that because it's all digital, it's so easy, and it's free, doesn't cost anything, but it's so much time, the time and the effort that has to go into, even just preparing for a photo shoot or the video shoot. It's a lot of behind the scenes stuff and work and creating the storyboards and all of that to put it together. How did you get into this to begin with? Like, what made you interested in video production?
Well, I started off with an art background. I just loved to draw and sketch as a kid. And as a kid, I wanted to be an author artist, write books. And so I went to school for art. Somehow that got into journalism. And so I actually graduated with a degree in journalism, worked at the Tribune Star for a little while. Worked in the sports department, which was a lot of fun, but some late nights and some late night deadline pressures, making sure we hit deadline. Moved on. I went to Indiana State, worked in public relations there for a couple of years, and started doing some of this on the side, photography and video. A lot of it was for wedding video. That's how we kind of started wedding videography.
Yeah.
And then that kind of built up into people that had businesses asked us to do some work for them, and that's kind of overtaken everything. We really do weddings anymore, but a lot of corporate and commercial work.
So most wonder what percentage of the commercials that you see on TV are created by you all, or at least the local stuff, right?
Yeah, really not too many. A lot of what we do produce some television commercials, but mostly it's for internal audiences or social media, online video, that sort of thing.
Yeah, people want more time to tell their story, and buying more time on TV is expensive. So
right.
What else is important, do you think, for people to know about the HOTE, initiative, and what question do you think I forgot to ask?
I think that we just want to make sure that we're aware of our surroundings. We're not painting our hometown. We're not looking at it through rose-colored glasses. We do see challenges there, but we want to also notice the positive aspects that we have here, because we do have so many, and I think they're just underrepresented. The news does what the news does, and I think a lot of that is negative. I think that sometimes they do try to focus on human interest, fun stories, but in terms of promoting something locally, that's not really their job. And so we kind of want to fill that gap and step into that and showcase that, and hopefully change a few minds for the positive of what we have here in our hometown. It's really a nice place to live and to raise a family. And that's really one of my motivations, my driving motivations is I've got 3 kids. I know you've got 2 kids of your own, Kate, and our kids are friends. But I just want to make sure that when they go to school, graduate, that Terre Haute can be a viable option for them. They can go live wherever they want to, of course, and we encourage them to take flight. But if they want to stay here, we want to make sure that they have a good place to live and raise their families too. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I never could, I moved here just 5-6 years ago from multiple other ventures before, I guess. And I didn't really think about that, kind of really planting long-term roots in Terre Haute. I thought it would just be a kind of like one of my stops along the way. But the more I got to know the community and meet people like you, and people who are part of the arts community and all, you start to develop a little bit more of a sense of pride. And so it's I love what you're doing. I think it's really wonderful to put that message out there. And I think that, maybe one of the ways that we all can help, and all of us watching can help, is to get on that site, get on your Facebook page and like it, follow it, and share it. Most importantly, you can like it yourself, but the idea is sharing it, with others. And because I think a lot of us feel like you, frustrated by some of the stories that are out, that come out in the news, but we have our own sense of pride in the community. But what can we do to put that out there? And that's, I think, one of the big ways is just sharing the site with others, and in that spider web hopefully will pick up and take off. And but is there something else that you need, or that your organization needs to continue to do the work that you do, Mark? Well,
we're looking at ways that people can partner with us to kind of help us, I guess, pay the bills. Visionary's kind of taken a large chunk of that. We have a large chunk of that responsibility. We have in the past have had sponsors, and we really need to kind of address that. The problem is the HOTE has been kind of a part-time venture until now, and we have other things that are taking priority, paid gigs for that matter, that make our priority. And so we want to make sure that we're able to continue to maintain that. That may require bringing somebody on just to focus on the HOTE. I would love to see that is their thing, their baby, because there really is so much going on in our community, and so much possibility, so much potential that it can actually be a regular, at least part-time job, and most likely a full-time job. So if we would love to be able to have the resources to develop that. And we're continuing to grow. In fact, we're getting ready to release a new community events calendar that we've developed through a grant with the Vigo County Vigo County, Wabash Valley Community Foundation.
Community Foundation, yeah.
Yes, the Community Foundation grant. And so that's helped us be able to develop a new calendar app, events calendar. It's going to be so great because we're going to be able to filter events, search for events, which our current calendar can't do. So we do have a lot of great people in our community, and one of our goals is to kind of help bring everybody together to kind of represent our community well. And I think there's a lot of people that do that in their own realm of influence. And so if we can all kind of get together on the same page on this, and we're just going to be so much better and so much stronger as a community.
Yes, that's a great way to describe it, and a good goal to focus on is, yeah, because you're right. There, you see a lot of people doing good stuff, but let's get together and pool our resources. And I also noticed in going back through your page again that you do have different sponsorship levels, and on one of your pages you make it really cool and easy to to join and become one of those sponsors, and so I think that's a good thing for people to notice. There are different businesses that do, and of course creating a video takes time and effort that has to be paid for. So so being able to put your name on something specific that you are maybe passionate about is a good opportunity, and one way to help support the efforts of promoting the Wabash Valley. Does anybody else have questions? I'm sorry, Rebecca, I should have paused at a moment to see if anybody chatted anything in.
Not yet. I've been keeping my eye on it. So,
okay.
But if anybody does have questions, now's a great time. If you want to raise your hand, I'll pop you in to talk, or if you wanted to chat it in.
Maybe we've just covered everything and there's no questions.
I guess we did. It is a lot. I mean,
I know I went and followed you. I got so excited hearing all about it. I went on and really quick and followed the host. So I can keep an eye on what's going on.
Yeah. There are a couple of, other community calendars, how do people, if somebody had an event or whatever kind of project going on that they wanted to share with you and wanted to make sure it got up on your page and was promoted on your page, how do they do that? What's the best way to get to you?
Sure. So there's a submit an event button right on the calendar. You can just click that. It goes through the list of, in fact, let me just see if I can pull that up for you real quick. There we go. Okay. All right. So on our events calendar, submit an event up right at the top. We don't have a whole lot going on today, but so you could just type out this submission with the name of the event, the date, time, and so on, and just give us all the details on it, and we will go through there, post it. We do try to stay clear maybe of just business oriented in some ways. We can kind of get overwhelmed with sales or that sort of thing. We do kind of try to weed out, say, yard sales. So there's a criteria for being included. All of that information is also included on the site there here on the events calendar guidelines. So you can kind of check that out, see if those events kind of fit the criteria or not.
Gotcha. Now, of course, right now with the limitations that we have on gathering, a lot of events that are going on are online like this, things and go to meetings and all of that. Is that still something that people can post on the site as if it's an online event?
Sure. That was one of the discussions that we seriously had on whether to include online events or not. There's just a real challenge with that. We have included some. I know that the Terre Haute Symphony Orchestra over the summer had a virtual concert. So that sort of thing we included. And our calendar, which was full up through January, February, and of course, March, when we got hit with the stay-at-home orders and all events canceled, then it was bare. And so we just had to wipe everything off of it. But we are starting to see, of course, events starting up again and getting included. So fun to see that. But we do just, of course, encourage people to kind of be cautious, use their discretion when they're out, and of course, mask up and just follow guidelines and just keep themselves and their neighbors safe.
I love that. That's a really nice and easy to complete form that you have there on that was on the Facebook page version of it?
That's on the HO. It's on under the things to do section where we have our calendar.
Okay. Okay. Very good.
Right there at the top.
Okay.
Of the calendar.
Well, terrific. Well, I so very much appreciate your time and sharing with us, and we look forward to the next documentary piece or whatever it is you're going to do with WTIU and the next piece you're going to put on the HOTE. I hope that everybody kind of jumps on there and you see an increase in visits on your site after our talk today, because there's a lot of great information. You could spend your whole day just watching video after video and being really proud of the community and what's out there and learning something new.
Well, yeah, it's always fun to learn something new, especially in your own backyard that you didn't know before. So.
Yeah, like skiing. Didn't know that.
Yeah.
And the one you did one too on the Griffin Bike Park.
Oh, yeah.
That's something that, unless you're a biker, you're probably not going to go out there and check it out, but it's a cool piece that you did and shows like all the work and effort that went into that. I know we saw a lot of talk and promotion on fundraising events that they did for the park. And so if you want to see what the end result of it is, go to thehope.org and check out the video. You did a cool piece on it.
Yeah, that's a video you definitely have to watch to the end, though.
Okay, yep.
It was a lot of fun.
So who was the one willing to get on the bike with the camera on the helmet or whatever?
we just strapped a GoPro on something that was going on it. So one of our team, they were not up for that, but.
Yeah, I wondered about that. I thought, oh my gosh, who got on the bike? I bet it was Mark.
I would have liked to have done that, but I had to film, so.
Darn.
That was cool. That was really cool. Thank you so much, Mark, for sharing your morning with us and
absolutely
sharing all your projects. And yeah, it's really cool. And we'll keep and you always have new content up there. That's the thing, it always stays fresh so people can keep coming back and taking a look.
Well, there's always something happening, so that's what keeps driving us. So always good to talk to you too, Kate, Rebecca.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Good seeing you too.
Have a good rest of your day, everybody.
Hi, everyone.